Fifth race weekend of the BMW IBSF Women's Skeleton World Cup. We're above the double Olympic city at Innsbruck in Austria's Tyrol mountain region. Just outside the village of Eagles is the track that held the games twice in the 60s and the 70s. Hello everybody, welcome back to the second heat of the women's skeleton race. I'm Martin Haven, alongside me is Elizabeth Meyer, and there's some very interesting runs in the first heat.
Definitely, only 300ths behind the leader is Megan Henry, and this is, I think, her first World Cup here. Really quick starter, really relaxed on her sled, and a huge speed at the bottom of the track to only be 300ths behind. Next is Elena Nikitina, which we expected her to be in the top three. She obviously was the fastest starter. She holds the start record here. A little bit all over the place on her run, room to clean up, to potentially move up, and she's only 200ths behind the leader, Janine Flock. And first is Janine Flock. She's been sliding here her entire career. Not the quickest on the start, but she knows where to find speed on this track. Her sled is completely tuned for the ice setup, everything that she needs on this track, and she's sitting in first in a very tight battle.
Well, the battle could barely be tighter. Look at the top four. 4 sleds covered by 500s. Are you kidding? And then from 5th place, Tina Hermann, who's nearly 3/10 behind the leader. Another 3/10 takes you down to 15th position, Kim Meilman. So those battles are going to be just as close all the way through the field while we get to our top 4, all of whom are hoping to end up here with a medal. For Janine Flock, if she ends up with a win, it'll be her 2nd win. Nikitina would be her 3rd win here, which would tie the all-time winners, Lizzie Arnold and Anja Huber, both of whom have got 3 wins here. For Megan Henry, a podium here would be a first in World Cup racing and a huge result. She's raced here in the Intercontinental Cup before, but never in World Cup in Europe before now. So who's going to be feeling pressure most? Well, Jacqueline Lurling just outside in 4th place, only a fraction of a mistake to tidy up and she could be in the medals. Tina Hermann, she's not going to make it, the girl in the red headband there. The pressure definitely is on Megan Henry, she's not used to being there. I think perhaps with most again is Elena Nikitina. She's still going to have speed at the start. Janine has to be perfect on the ice, doesn't she, to try and hold off that rampaging Russian pace.
Definitely. There's a huge gap in their start, over 3/10. And for her to hold on to that start, she should be able to move up. But like you said, Janine Flock needs to be perfect down the track.
Anna Fenstetová of the Czech Republic will be the first of the 20 sleds on ice. They go in reverse order of the first heat. Both runs count, and the least time elapsed over the 2 runs decides our winner. Last to go will be the defending champion here, and our first heat leader, Janine Flock. Race 5 of the BMW IBSF Women's Skeleton World Cup. Second heat about to get underway, 20 down to 1 to decide the medals. Martin Haven and Elizabeth Meyer watching Anna Fenstetová of the Czech Republic get our second heat underway.
Anna isn't the quickest on the start, so this is a very tricky track from her. She knows where to find speed, but she is learning a brand new sled this season, just testing and trying to see if the Schneider is in fact quicker than the Duker sled that she was on last year.
Started 5:68 in the first heat, 5:75 in the second heat, so she's giving away a little bit more pace to her rivals.
The groove could be getting slower just with the ice changing as the sun goes down a little bit in the valley here.
Yeah, 3:30 in the afternoon, a little early as we talk about sunset, but not when you're in the mountains. There's a lot of Tyrol between us and the sun.
A nice exit out of Kreisel there. Just relaxing into that tap, which shows her experience and really big speed as she heads into curve 10.
Yeah, very good speed, 100.1. I was going to say, as the sun drops, the air temperature drops, the surface of the ice temperature may drop as well, might speed up a little. 119.1 at the bottom, we'll see 121, maybe even 122s at the bottom. 54.55 for first heat, 54.54. So that's a very, very similar slide in terms of the end result, but different at the start and probably totally different all the way down.
Definitely, and that is consistency. With a bit slower start and to have almost the same time, maybe her run was just a little bit better. Was able to chill maybe from that first Coming out of Kreisel here, lots of athletes are struggling to get a clean exit. She drifts a little bit, a small skid, but no tap as she heads into corner 8. Coming out of 9 as well. It's been tricky for a lot of athletes, drifting to the slider's left side. Little bit of a push away, she heads into curve 10.
Well, the other thing that the athletes can do is adjust the balance of the sled between the first heat based on what the ice was like compared to what they thought it would be like. So there's that adjustment going into the mix as well. Second of our sliders today, 19th after the first heat. You can see the advantage, 8 whole hundredths of a second ahead of Anna Fenstetteva. Again, so many of these sliders are effectively in what is almost literal dead heat.
Yeah, only 800. So that is a blink of the eye. It is really close.
That right-hand groove that a lot of them put a runner in just leads you over towards the wall. You've got to be careful not to hit it.
A little bit of a start advantage there for Savannah over Anna. But she will need to be perfect at the bottom of the track because Anna did have a very nice exit of Kreisel and bottom part.
Builds her advantage, 2700ths up. Still in the green, still ahead at the Kreisel.
Nice and relaxed on the sled. A small tap on the exit, not even quite a tap, just a push away.
Still a quarter second up, holding that margin almost to the 100th. 100.5, just a fraction quicker than Fernstedt.
A little bit of a tap as she heads into corner 11, which sets up the labyrinth to make it a little bit loopier.
Fenstetteva, I should remember to call it Anna Fenstedt. That was 2 whole seasons ago. 54.38. So 54.38 to 54.46. Little improvement for Savannah Grable to creep away by a quarter of a second ahead of Anna Fenstetteva. She moves into the leader's box. And less of an uncomfortable dismount against the wall here. The finish area, for those who haven't seen the first heat, not a comfortable place to be.
A little bit of airtime as she loads onto that sled. You're wanting to go get your body onto the sled as quickly as possible to accelerate it, leaning away a little bit from corner 1. And here she comes off of corner 9. Again, you can see her really fighting that left wall, trying to stay away from it. And she's pulling that shoulder up, which takes a little bit of control away from the athlete on the sled.
So our race leader after 2 sleds out of our top 20, Savannah Grable. Next up is Australia's Jackie Narracott. She ducked out of the race in La Plania last weekend and to join me in the commentary booth instead. Her advantage over current leader Savannah Grable, 200ths of a second for the Aussie.
Getting set on the start line, and she's got those shoes that are specifically made for her to help a little bit on the push. She's having the best season so far of her career. She was in the top 10 before in the World Cup for the first time ever before she sat out of last race.
5:61 start, 5:57 in the first heat. Nice clean exit out of corner 2.
Really relaxed on the sled, leaning a little bit away from the slider's right-hand wall.
Really important in these quiet early corners before you get speed below the Kreisel to do as little as humanly possible.
Nice speed coming out. A little bit of a push away on the slider's left side.
She was 100th up over Savannah at the start, 1900ths before that hit, 100.5, same speed as Grable.
Really nice exit of curve 10 there, but a bit down on speed.
Yeah, nearly a kilometre an hour down on Savannah Grable, so the gap comes back down. Should be enough to see her in front. It is 1600ths, 2/10 quicker than her first heat, so certainly we can say that the ice is at least holding up, if not maybe going to offer a little bit more speed later in the run. So Jackie Narracott from Queensland, Australia, raised in Brizzy, now lives in Bath, Vegas. Is that a thing? Probably not.
A little bit of a flop on the exit of the curve there, coming out of corner 9. A lot of extra height, which is pushing that athlete to the left-hand side. Big bump on that slider's left, and fighting off that right wall.
There's the Aussie in the green and gold. She takes the lead of the race so far. Everybody holding their position. Next up, Great Britain's Laura Dees, 17th after the first heat. Coach is James Howard there with the sled on the ice, and her advantage over Jackie Narracott, 400ths of a second. So it's been a bit of a mixed start to the season for the Olympic bronze medalist from Pyeongchang.
Perhaps a little bit short on her start. She loaded while the sled was still flat, not over the brow.
5:48 first heat, 5:53 second, and if she's running a little bit short on what is not a longest start, I wonder if she's just nursing a little bit of a twinge somewhere.
A little bit of a toe tap there, not to get pushed too early.
Okay, so now only tied with Jackie Narracott. 400s up from the first heat, gets a big hit.
On both sides and half a kilometer down as she entered into Kreisel.
1:19.1 at the bottom from Savannah Graybill.
Really nice entry into curve 10, but the speed is just not quite there.
1:17.7. No, she's not going to catch the Aussie. She's going to drop a couple of spots at least. Behind Savannah Graybill as well, she is 54.58. That's 1800s slower than her first heat for Laura Dees. Uncomfortable season continues. Only 13th in World Cup rankings coming in here. Best result, season opener in Lake Placid, 10th. And then she failed to make the cut in the second heat, in the second race weekend, rather.
Into Kreisel here. Sometimes it's easy for the athletes to get lost just because you can't feel the pressure. You can see that toe drop perhaps a little bit too soon. So there's going to be extra pressure that's pushing her off. And that's where that bump on both sides of the wall happens as she enters into corner 8.
It looks so easy to spot when we're looking from the outside in hyper slow motion, but you know, it's a 10th or so in the wrong place and the steer's all wrong. So our race leader is Jackie Narracott of Australia. Next up, Kimberly Murray of Great Britain. Second of the 3 British athletes, and she was just 300s ahead of Laura Dees, 700s ahead of that girl, our race leader. A big day for British male skeleton. 2 of the boys finished in 4th and 6th position. Marcus Wyatt and Craig Thompson. 5:44, that's a good getaway considering she had a 5:52 in the first heat.
Definitely a big improvement on her start. Maybe just a little bit more relaxed this run, pushing it a little bit more.
Yeah, because she was last to go in the first heat, 25th of our sliders, and the pressure was to make the cut. And so maybe being a touch conservative at the start so she didn't misload.
And a good exit of Kreisel there. A little bit of a push away, but really manageable.
This is a nice looking run. She is very loose, isn't she? 4200s up, 101.1, that's very good speed.
And a very nice entry into corner 11.
120.1, a kilometre an hour quicker than anybody else. Kimberly Murray is going to live in the leaders box for a while. Brush on the wall, track record, 53.70. That is a huge, huge slide for the girl from the Isle of Wight.
Oh, she should be very pleased with that. It was
well done.
Really?
He should be very pleased with that.
Yes.
Wow. Surprise, confused, but all the way down, that was looking
she was building
fast. There's something about the body language. Look at the way she just does nothing. She's so relaxed.
Yeah, you can tell she's relaxed on the sled. And even when she took this tap here, she wasn't fighting the sled. She looks like a veteran slider here, just chilling, relaxing. Okay, fine, this is great. But then that exit out of 10 was nicer than anyone I've seen, I think, the entire race.
Laura Dees, the first to give her a huge hug. Kimberly Murray. Okay, boys, look what you've started now.
Really nice run. Really nice.
Last to go in the first heat. She might be in the leaders box for a while. Kimberly Murray leads for Great Britain, 5 down, 15 to go. Oshes Martin Rattle holds the sled for Kim Marmans of Belgium. 15th after the first heat. Race 5 of the Women's Skeleton World Cup with Martin Haven and Elizabeth Meyer watching the action.
Load in onto her sled, nice and relaxed. Again, she spent a lot of time here as well. Has been sliding for a long time, originally with the Germans, and now for her home country of Belgium.
Yeah, again, like Anna Fenn-Steteva, her formative years in Bavaria on the Berchtesgaden track, so it'll be, quote, home territory, although it's by far not the closest to Belgium. That would be Winterberg.
Nice and relaxed on her Schneider sled. Really looking like the Kim that I have seen in the past that had been struggling a little bit the last seasons.
And it's all about head games, isn't it? You know, you have a difficult start to the season, it tends to follow you around. You have a flying start, and suddenly the world's your oyster.
Definitely. Good speed going into 10.
300s ahead of Kimberly Murray from the first heat. She's 3/10 down at the last split and across the line, 4/10 back. 54.13. Kimberly Murray with that track record. Oh boy. I mean, it's suffice to say that it's quicker than anybody went in the first heat.
Ever.
And so, ever. Ever, exactly right. In fact, that record stands from, what was it, 2016, Tina Herman in the World Championships,
Yeah, here Kim is loading onto her sled. You can see the ice flying a little bit from the groove, so it could be left over from the sweep or just, putting too much pressure onto the sled. Big toe steer again out of corner 9, trying to get that sled under the right direction. A little bump away. It's what we've been seeing from almost every athlete.
Well, it's a nice clear day today, so there's no frosting on the track. It's got a very shiny surface, and it is running fast, faster than ever before. There's Janine Flock. She'll go last. She may not have to break the track record, but I think they all know now that it's definitely... I mean, we were talking about it in the first heat. Didn't think it would go so soon.
Nope.
Well, next up, after a big first heat for Maddie Charney, her first full season in World Cup, her first World Cup races in Europe for the young Canadian. So just 25 years old from Calgary, Alberta. Home to so many Canadian sliders. So much success over the years, and we all really desperately hope that Calgary does return to being a track. 5:55 getaway, 5:52 in the first heat.
You can see her leaning a little bit, just a little bit of head action as she heads into curve 3, trying to direct that sled. On a skeleton, you drive the sled with your head, shoulders, knees, and toes. So if we see a head moving, she's trying to control the sled.
Well, she was 4 spots ahead of our current leader, Kimberly Murray. Only 0.06 of a second covered those 4 sleds.
Really nice exit of Kreisel there. Bleed in just a little bit of speed. As your shoulders are coming up, you kind of lose a little bit of control of the sled.
Well, she's kind of right in the same spot as Kim Milmans, who she was just 200s ahead of in the first heat.
A little bit down on speed here.
Yeah, but on Murray, the track record holder, that's not a surprise. Oh, 5th fastest run, so she drops 4 spots behind Kim Milmans and Jackie Narracott. Well, that's not what you want in the second heat, but you've got to cling on to what you did in the first, where you had your best career run on this track, and carry that with you. That sucks, but the first one didn't so much. That's what you got to take with you to Koenigsegg next week.
And it's hard coming off the track and you see that you've dropped, but you don't know that the girl a couple of spots ahead set the track record by so much. You can see her leaning away with that head, trying to bring it off and then helping with the toe. And it puts her into a little bit of a skid. So maybe it was a bit of a looser setup after changing her sled between runs, which puts her into a couple small skids there.
So Maddie Charney, Kim Milmans offers her commiserations, as does Savannah Grable. And that means that Kimberly Murray stays in the leader box. Craig Thompson knows what that feels like. Went from 12th to 6th in the men's race. First of our action today. Next up, Kendall Wessenberg. Kendall in 13th place, her advantage over Kimberly Murray, 0.06 of a second. This is why there's often so many changes in this part of the leaderboard.
Definitely predicted that there would be some changes, not the track record going so early.
No, I missed that, in fairness.
A little bit of a push down as she enters curve 3, which is where you see the athlete waving in the curve.
And is that a factor of the speed that she has got at the start, or perhaps slightly less speed than most of the others from the start?
Nope, I think it's just a push down of the fillet of the entry of the curve that's pushing the athlete away.
Ooh, it's a little uncomfortable on the exit, half a second back. I think probably now, until we get right up into the top 6, everybody's going to be giving away speed to Kimberly Murray. So it's about their positions respective to where they started and everybody else around them. And at the moment, she is clawing it back, drops to 3rd at the line, 54.28. Well, that's 300s quicker than her first heat. So 2 pretty similar runs.
And Caleb called it, he said great drive, and it was a great drive.
A 5.72 start compared to 5.69. And her best result here in Innsbruck, is that what Tuffy said?
Yeah, I think so, and she's smiling on the exit of the track, so she must be pretty pleased. Nice and parallel as she enters into curve 8. Coming off of 9. It wasn't as clean as her first run, a little bit of a skid, a little bit of a tap. Bounces the athlete to put her nicely into curve 10.
Well, she was 12th here last year, Kendall, and unless I'm misreading things, her best here, 8th place the year before, so maybe her best run of the week.
Yes, but it is a tricky track this week, so.
Well, there's Kimberly Murray, getting more layers on. I think she's anticipating having to stay in the leader's box for a while. Her teammate, Maddie Smith, is next up. Maddie's mum and dad here from Hazley in the West Midlands. It's around 10 miles from my hometown.
Loads onto the sled really quickly. You can see that right elbow kind of poking out as she reaches into curve 1.
Kimberly Murray started 5.44. Maddie Smith 5.45. 2 quick getaways.
The Brits are definitely quick starters, and this track will benefit them because of that.
Well, she's only got 400s in hand over Kimberly Murray.
A little bit down in speed as she enters into Kreisel.
She was 1800s up. I don't know what Kimberly Murray did to her sled setup and how she managed to ride it down, but Maddie Smith breaks into a big skid.
The speed isn't quite there as she enters into corner 10. Really nice entry into 11, similar to her teammates, but down on speed.
Well, she was the top Brit after the first heat. She's going to be the second place slider at the line. It is second place, 54.23. Now, for Kimberly Murray, the difficulty is going to be bottling that second run. How did I do that?
Yeah, and you could see here when she spoke to one of the other athletes, she's like, I don't know how it happened.
Kind of sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah.
Really close running to that sled. She's almost nicking it with with her toe as she loads onto
steps on it.
Lucky ducky there.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, she's very, very close all the time to the sled. I think actually 1 or 2 races ago, maybe in Winterberg, she actually just caught it with her toes.
You can see as she's lifting that right shoulder, she is losing control a bit of the sled. She's not fully settled on it.
Well, there are those commiserating as they all get left in the trailing slipstream of Kimberly Murray of Great Britain. The girl who ended the first heat in 16th place leads as we get to Lin Huaiyang of China. 10th fastest starter in Heat 1, finished 11th at the line. And her advantage, again, a fraction bigger, 1800s ahead of Kimberly Murray. I think, honestly, you need at least 3 tenths in the bank in this second heat to be able to hope to beat her.
Definitely. Lin is relatively a new slider, getting ready for that Beijing Olympics, getting these World Cups under her belt, used to the cameras. And she's a very small, slender athlete.
Yeah, but she's a big starter, 5.44. Oh, gets knocked away.
Yeah, bit of a tap there. She had a very messy first run, so if she can clean it up a portion, she'll be able to
long
stay in the
skid all the way down to the Kreisel, and a long drift off it as well.
Really late into corner 9, yep.
Yeah, maybe she's increased the rock so she's got less control and more speed.
Big flop off of corner 10, and the speed isn't quite there.
No, hitting too many things on the way down. She's just taking too much out of the sled, and at the line she's going to drop 6th position. Only the 8th fastest run, 54.54. And she is only our 9th slider down, so she was 100th faster than Anna Fenn Stetova, and that is the only, than Laura Dees, 54.58 for Laura Dees. That is the slowest run of the heat so far for Laura.
Coming off of Kreisel here, you can see that bump almost, and then it pushes her to the right side. Really late entry into curve 8, which makes curve 9 even more difficult. And that's where we see that flop and the athlete bumping that left wall.
Well, in her benefit, being a slender athlete now, means the more muscle she puts on, she can actually carry and still be within the weight limit of the athlete and the sled combined. 10 down, 10 to go. Well, if we were looking at a surprise in the first heat in the top 4, we are looking at a surprise in the second heat. Kimberly Murray leads with a new track record.
Crazy. They've got a new track crew here, and they have made the track incredibly fast. It's different, but it is really quick.
Well, there is your race leader, like Craig Thompson in the first heat when he went from 12th to 6th, starting to have to think of things to do when the camera flicks back to you again in the leader's box. Normally, you might be in for 1, maybe 2 sleds. Half a dozen is unusual. 7 or 8 she could be in for. Yeah.
She was last off in the first heat, so the spritz would have gone away and the track would have gone away a little bit. But track record, that's pretty impressive.
It's pretty impressive. So too is the friendliness. I mean, in skeleton and bobsleigh, this is not like racing cars. You can't ruin anybody's race. You can't hold them up. You can't block them. It's you versus the mountain versus the stopwatch, and every single one of you has exactly the same issues, the same problems, and the same weather conditions predominantly. So it's almost like everybody's in one team, although you slide for different nations.
Definitely.
It's a very individual sport, isn't it?
Which is really cool because you're pushing yourself. It's you versus the track, not necessarily 1 versus 1.
I was talking about it with Toby Alubi, who's just joined the British bobsleigh team, came in for his headshot at lunchtime between our 2 runs, and he said, yeah, when you're upside down, everybody is the same. It doesn't matter what colour you are, what nation you come from, what your heritage is. Everybody knows what it feels to crash. There's Maddie.
With treats.
Yeah. Now, is she stealing sweeties? No, she's handing out sweeties to Viesturs, our photographer. His is a fabulous photographer you see on the IBSF website. And Maddie Charney handing out the sweeties. She hasn't got doggy biscuits, I don't think. She's left those at home. There you go. Oh, I'm back on. Yeah. Well, what a day this has been for British men's skeleton. And this is looking like a big day coming up still for Kimberly Murray, who leads here with 10 to go. Race 5, the BMW IBSF Women's Skeleton World Cup, Innsbruck in Austria. Martin Haven and Elizabeth Meyer watching the action into the final 10 sleds. Kimberly Murray of Great Britain, the surprise leader. Now, Marina Gilardoni, who's got a 1900ths of a second lead, tries to overhaul the Brit.
She has a couple areas to clean up from the first run. She's really starting to look like herself on this sled as well. She got a Schneider last year, and this year she's really coming into her own.
Speed better at the start again, 5:41, so that's the fastest start of the heat so far. And she's opening up the advantage, but it's starting to close down again.
A little bit down on speed here from the Brit.
And even Jackie Narracott, who's got the top speed into the Kreisel, 90.2. Now this is where Kimberly Murray just lit up the afterburners.
Good speed into 10, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to hold on.
She needs 120. She's a kilometre an hour shy. She's in the red. I don't think she's going to find a wormhole. I think another victim for Kimberly Murray. Yes, 54 flat. That was a good run. 1800s better than her first. She had a quicker start, but Marina Gilardoni slips and will be possibly no better than 11th position. However, again, we talked about this, from 5th to 15th, covered by 0.3 of a second. Could be lots more changes in store.
Loads quickly onto the sled with her knees first to try to accelerate it as much as possible. She is a veteran slider, and you can see that as she goes into curve 1. Shoulders are fully touching the sled and head is down. Coming out of Kreisel, bumping that wall, and nice and parallel as she enters into curve 8.
So there's Marina. 2 weeks from now, she and her teammate there, Ronnie Alderset, will be back on home ice in St. Moritz. But for them, as well as us, it'll be the first time they've slid it this year. Jane Channell of Canada next up. The girl from North Vancouver, second fastest start in the field, but Jane is not finding the pace this season so far. And one good run here could just drop the pieces into place like some mind game of Tetris.
Definitely. She had a good result in Winterberg, but La Planche was tricky.
Oh, so few sliders. No, La Planche. Haven't had a World Cup race there for women's skeleton for 6 seasons.
She's a very quick starter. trying to come to terms with her new sled. The fastest start that we've seen so far. 3400s ahead of Kim Murray at the top of the track, and see if she can hold on to it as she goes down.
Well, that's the sort of advantage you're going to need at the start, and then you've got to get pretty close to the track record as well. 3800s building the lead.
A bit of a tap there as she enters that labyrinth curve.
She's going to need about 4 tenths at the Kreisel, but she's down to just 3 tenths. 89.0 to 90.2.
You can see that elbow just peeking out a little bit, so that aerodynamic form is going away a bit.
Not feeling the love. Kimberly Murray, 101.1, 97.7 for Jane Channel. She's in the red, and the hole is getting deeper.
Just doesn't quite have the speed here at the bottom of the track that we've seen these other athletes.
No, going to lose 3 or 4 places, drops 5 spots. 54.36 slide for Jane. 2 tenths slower than her first heat. Not the run she needed. And Elizabeth, you know what it's like when everything's going, you can't do any wrong no matter what you do. All the calls are instinctive on the setup, on the line, on everything. But nothing lasts forever, and you've got to try and remember the bad times don't either.
Exactly. Here she comes off this top labyrinth curve, a bit of a tap, and it's going to set you up a little bit off as you enter Kreisel, and that's where we see the tap and the shoulder coming up just a bit, which you lose control of the sled that way. Really trying to stop that skid as she heads into curve 8. Coming off of curve 9, like we've seen so many of the other athletes do, a bit of a tap on that slider's left.
Breaks into a skid as well. So Jane Channel drops 5 places as we have 8 sleds to go. And we have a tie for 7th place. The only tie in the top 20. The time set by Mimi Reniva, tied by Valentina Margaglio of Italy. So Valentina goes first to try and A, break the tie, and B, somehow hold off the flying Kimberly Murray.
And she had a 10th up on Mimi there for them to have the same downtime. Is quite incredible. 100th faster on her start. She was here last week getting to know the track with the Europa Cup and stayed away from Le Plong.
Lots of leaning in the slow couple of corners at the top rather than dragging the toes. 4 tenths the lead. Not building on her start advantage though, and the lead should then come down 3600s at the Kreisel.
A little bit down on speed in comparison to Kim Murray, and a bit of a tap and skid.
Lots of work from the hips below. She swings the legs a lot, doesn't she?
Yes, and that is to prevent the skidding from happening and trying to stop them.
3 tenths, but only 99.3, only 118, 1100s in the bank. It's not enough coming into the labyrinth. Not unless she cuts a corner somewhere and at the line. Oh, 200s back. 53.99, still 7 to go.
Yep.
But Kimberly Murray currently will be no worse than 8th after 16th in the first heat.
Crazy, and that's a great result as well for Valentina Margaglio. She's new to the World Cup. She's a quick starter. She's young. She's definitely the future for Italy. A top 10 result she's going to be very pleased with.
Her best ever World Cup race, 10th place here last January.
So she's for sure improved on that.
Yep, and she is in her 8th ever World Cup.
A little bit of a bump too as she enters into corner 8, which makes this transition into curve 9 even more difficult. Gets pushed down just on the fillet of that curve.
Well, Valentina second by 200s. Woo, exactly right. So 7 to go. Mimi Reniva. Before I ever met this young woman, found her name many times in the record books, particularly on North American tracks with start records, and that is still one of her powerhouse strengths here.
Mimi is an incredibly quick starter. She changed strength and conditioning coaches just as kind of the season was starting. She's an incredible athlete.
Wow, 5:38, that's an improvement on 5:42 in the first heat.
I can see her definitely want to go hunting for these top 6 positions.
Yeah. Well, she was 300s out of the top 6 and 600s behind 5th. Beyond that, I think the top 4 probably out of reach unless they give places away.
Good speed heading into Kreisel, not the best that we've seen.
3300s, is that enough of a lead over Kimberly Murray? 2800, she's holding on.
She's got to be perfect here at the bottom of the track.
100.3, that's good. This could be the sled that beats Kimberly Murray. 2/10, 1:18.9. She hasn't got much speed. She almost rolls it off the corner. Down in the labyrinth. Where's she going to be? Ahead or behind? Ahead by 400ths. She had so much speed, it was almost impossible to give it all away. And Mimi Reniva leads, Kimberly Murray second, Valentino Margalio third, with 6 to go. And yeah, a very uncomfortable landing.
Coming out of curve 9 here, a little bit of a skid. Tap on that slider's left, but she relaxes into it so she doesn't tap again before curve 10. Here she's going to drop her right toe just to make sure that she doesn't hit that entry into curve 11, and that's sent her a little bit squirrely into curve 12, into 13, and that's where that lead kind of disappeared a bit.
So Mimi Reniva has the lead of the race, and 6 to go. Now here was a big story in the first heat. Susanne Kreher of Germany. Her teammate Sophia Griebel, who's the regular World Cup starter, the third of them for Germany, has the flu and so is not here. So Susanne dropped in at the last minute. And wow, how well has she produced the goods? Sophia was 9th in the race last year. Susanne 6th in the first heat of her World Cup career.
And as we expect from German athletes, they can get plunked into a World Cup last minute, and they're relaxed on the equipment. They're accelerating at the bottom of the track, maybe not the quickest starters, but able to find speed.
Absolutely. 5:51 getaway to 5:59 in her first heat. Of course, she's used to the cameras and the lights and everything now, having done it once.
An old pro. Really big speed as she enters into Kreisel, given her start time.
Yeah, 90.0. That's as quick as Kimberly Murray. Now, is she going to be on track for a new track record? Will it go again? 1600s back. She's getting closer. Long skid.
Ooh.
Good speed. Is she going to be ahead of Mimi Reniva and Kimberly Murray? There's 400s between. 100th of a second in it. 53.95 slide. It's not a new track record, but she will be no worse than 6th position on her debut.
On not a German track.
Well, yes, now that's a very fine point indeed. Obviously, having come up through the ranks, it'll be one she knows well, but she's from Altenburg, so she's not necessarily a natural glider.
Big smiles, as she should have, coming out of Kreisel here. She's used to Kreisels with Altenburg and Königssee, but there's not the pressures like there are there. Nice and parallel as she enters into curve 8. Coming off of 9, typical tap, typical skid that we've seen. And legs flying a little bit, but she relaxes into it, into curve 10, like a German.
Well, her first World Cup race, she's equaled anything that Sophia Griebel has produced so far this season. Sophia 6th in La Plagne, her best result. Susanne Kreher leads for Germany, 5 to go. It's been an entertaining day of skeleton racing, and we have 5 to go in race 5 of the women's competition. Martin Haven, Elizabeth Meyer watching Tina Hermann, the world champion on this track in 2016, looking for a 3rd career win here.
Chasing down her young teammate.
Starts 100th quicker.
A little bit of a flop off of corner 1 when she saw her feet trying to adjust.
Multiple race winner and World Cup champion and world champion Tina Hermann with 300s ahead of the rookie in the first heat.
Lead just 100th going away.
And it's going to be super tight. And this is the problem when you're in such a talented team like the German crew, is these wretched young kids are just as good as you despite all your experience. Oh, this is going to be so close. 104.
A little bit less than her teammate on speed on entry of corner 10.
Oh, and 119. Susanne Kreher had 120. Tina Hermann is going to go down to the youngster. Susanne Kreher leads at the... No, she doesn't. 53.93. 200s quicker in this run. 300s quicker in the first run.
And she said goodbye to her track record today.
Yeah, well, Tina Hermann clings on. Record schmecord. If she can win the race, she'll be happier with that. Well, she said last night after training, I can't start. I don't like riding on my sled.
And she's talking about the start spur to her athlete or her coach there.
Still pushing them right, isn't it?
Really fighting it off with her toes. And that's where that flop, you can kind of see the sled drop.
But it's the same. Almost everybody starts with a runner in that right-hand groove, and everybody's had the same issue all day.
Yep, and it is completely the athlete's choice, and you watch sleds go before, but maybe the left was even worse.
Tina Hermann leads, race winner already this season, as is Jacqueline Lurling. Okay, so 2,700s back was Tina Hermann. The top 4, Lurling was 4th, covered by 500s.
Yep.
Effectively, we've got a 4-way dead heat in this horse race at mid-distance. So who's going to canter to the front? Jacqueline Lurling has not won in the top class on this track. She's taken medals. She got a bronze last year. In fact, that's her only medal here, but she has not won in Innsbruck. Can this be a medal-winning run from Jacka?
She has improved on her start from previous years. With the new weight rule, she was having to slim down a little bit, and in exchange, that's the top 10 start, which we don't usually see from Jacka.
5:52, you're right. She was 17th fastest in the first heat. That's how close these starts are. She's gone 500s quicker, and she's gone from 17th to 10th at the start.
And she knows where to find speed. That is definitely a gift of Jacqueline Lurling in skeleton.
Well, her first heat was a 53.82.
Really nice exit out of Kreisel there. This Kreisel would be similar to Winterberg a little bit, which is her home track. 102.
Wow.
Really good speed.
That is the fastest sled, faster than Kimberly Murray. Is she going to break the track record? She's leading. Is she in front? Yes, a new track record, 53.62. So the joy of having the track record is taken away from Kimberly Murray. And if somebody who was 16th in the first heat, whose best World Cup result is 7th, got the track record, you expect that somebody at the top will get it.
Oh,
yes.
Big smile.
And also a 52 start. She'll be very much happier with that.
Definitely. She's fighting for that top spot now. Next girls have to set a track record, basically, to be able to stay ahead.
That's absolutely right, because there's only 500s covering the top 4. If you don't set a track record, you're going down.
Yep. Really nice run by Jacqueline Lurling.
And still hits the wall just by the line. So Jacka leads, eases Tina Hermann and Suzanne Kreher into second and third with 3 to go. Will there even be a German medal here? Last American to win on this track, I can't tell you. Last US medal, Katie Uhlaender, when Anja Huber won and Noel Piker's pace behind Elena Nikitina and Lizzie Arnold. But for Megan Henry, whatever happens now, it's been a huge day in Innsbruck.
Definitely another strong start for Megan Henry, only 100th slower than her first. This is an interesting position for her to be in. She has to relax, and being in a medal position, it is new for her.
Yep, but only new at this level. She's won races before in the junior levels and in the ICC, in North America's cup sliding. She knows how to win races. She knows how to execute, and this is looking like her first run. Straight down the middle of the track, just a little bobble on the Kreisel.
She's looking nice and relaxed. A little bit down on speed as she was in Kreisel.
100.3 to 102 of Lurling. It's not going to be a track record. She's not going to lead at the line. She might yet get a medal. It is so tight. Megan Henry, whatever else happens, a fantastic day in Innsbruck for the American. Second at the line, 53.9.
Career best result.
Oh, by some margin. I mean, it's only her 5th World Cup race. She only started World Cup racing this season. She did a World Championships before she did a World Cup race.
And I was peeking at training this week, and she was really flowing with the track. She should be stoked with this result.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, 2 big runs by Megan Henry.
Coming off of curve 9, she's got a little bit of pressure to that left side, and on her first run, runners were completely straight, and that's where we saw that acceleration. Bit of a pull to the sliders left as she enters curve 11 as well.
I mean, she's had a good World Cup season already this year. 12th and 13th in Lake Placid, 7th in Winterberg, 11th in a Plania track she'd never seen before, and now guaranteed top 4, and who knows what else. It's so tight at the top. Second after the first heat with 200ths over Jacqueline Lurling, 100th over Megan Henry, is Elena Nikitina. She holds the start record at 5:11. How close will she get? That comes from a Europa Cup race just before the 2016 Worlds. 5:11 the record, 5:21, not even as quick as her first start. And that might be a problem again. She might need a track record.
She's got to have a really nice run here. It was really messy on the first. She didn't quite look to be in control of the sled. She is 5100ths up, but you can see the sled is skidding underneath her. She is a light athlete, so perhaps there's a little bit loose there.
4100s up, 89.2 to 90.4 of Jacqueline Lurling, a kilometre an hour down. Gap down to 2800s. Lurling was 102 kilometres an hour at the next clock. 98, 4Ks down.
She's taking some big taps and skids here, and the speed is just not there.
Nearly 6 kilometres an hour down. Elena Nikita.
She's going to drop behind
She's
Megan
going to drop behind Megan Henry. Megan Henry is in the medals. Lurling is at least a silver medalist, her career best here. She can't believe it. The track record remains in the hands of Jacka. Elena Nikita could still take a medal here. She's won twice on this track. Win number 3 will have to wait at least another season. Silver last year. Victorious the year before.
The track is tricky this year, so it's not what she's used to. You can see her bumping a big hit, huge skid, and really late as she enters into curve 8, which makes this bottom part a little bit trickier. Again, that tap and skid, she's just not quite relaxed on that sled.
Jacqueline Lurling hugs Elena Nikita, two fierce rivals. And now Janine Flock. Last year, she won the World Cup race here. Her first ever race of any kind in Innsbruck since she started sliding, she said, that she had won. There's her mum. Her family and friends are all here. Matthias Guggenberger with the sled.
Coach Matthias Guggenberger also made the sled along with her sponsor and another engineer with him.
A huge race here for Janine Flock, 5:53, and Jacqueline Lurling started 5:52, so her 500s lead is down to 4.
And she's got to set a track record basically to stay ahead, and she knows where to find speed on this track.
Yes, she does. And the gap, 100th of a second.
She's down on speed quite a bit from
0.6 of a kilometre an hour down. At the moment, the pendulum is swinging to Jacqueline Lurling, claiming a first win here in World Cup racing.
Really nice exit there into curve 10.
101.6, still down on speed. 121.3, the fastest sled we've seen. Is there enough ice for Jacqueline Lurling or Janine Flock to win it? Oh, it's Lurling by 200s. 53.69 slide for Janine Flock. She takes the silver medal in Innsbruck. 200ths of a second behind Jacqueline Lurling. She doesn't know which way it went. Silver for Janine, bronze for Megan Henry of the USA. A huge result for her. But Jacqueline Lurling, a new track record to take the gold.
Janine started training with the Latvians this year to work on her start, so she's starting to figure that out a little bit more, but it will take a little bit of time. Loads onto that sled, gets ready to go. Really nice exit here out of curve 9, which shows her experience on this track. She hits snow or ice.
Yeah. Bit of ice dropped off the roof or something. Or chipped off the wall by a previous sled. Well, Janine, listen, 200, when we had 500s covering the top 4, we knew we're tossing the names in the air and seeing who came down on top, and it was Jacqueline Lurling. Not by accident, she set the fastest run ever seen down this track.
Which is incredible, given her start time. Yes, she's improved on it, but still, it's 12th fastest start, and she's laying down the fastest run ever.
The winner started 5:52, second place 5:53, bronze 5:37, fourth place started 5:21. It's not the Startmeister's Autobahn of old this season, is it? And still always in Innsbruck, you have to be able to drive. And
Yes.
one thing you say about Jacqueline Lerling is she can drive. She wins by 200s from Janine Flock, Megan Henry, a huge result, her first ever World Cup medal. Elena Nikita, Tina Hermann and Suzanne Crea on her debut round out the top half dozen. And Kimberly Murray from 16th place to 8th at the finish with a track record for herself as well. A fantastic day for her. Well, Kimberly Murray with the first of 2 track records in that heat, but Jacqueline Lerling just really laid down a smoker. And for that young lady as well, Megan Henry, huge day. You remember what it's like, your first World Cup medal in your first season. She ain't going to be feeling much pain from here on in, is she?
No, not at all.
And if that's not her mum and dad right there, I don't know who is. Yeah, so...
I could not have predicted her to necessarily be on the podium. For her to maintain a spot is really impressive as well.
And it was so close. And actually, her second heat, the body language showed no signs of nerves or tension at all. Just exactly what you need to do. Train it take it just like another training run.
Exactly.
Forget where you are, forget who's around you.
Yeah.
Andrew Blaser on the left made his first World Cup cut in the men's race. Austin Florian didn't, unfortunately, but still got a taste for the bobbles.
Now, Megan Henry must be very pleased with that result. Also, Suzanne Crea coming out for her first World Cup. Oh.
Yeah, that's a proper we're not worthy. I'm not sure that was a proposal of marriage. You don't normally do it with chocolate bars.
And juice packets.
Yeah, she...
Post-race.
Yeah.
Snack. I'm very hungry.
So they are WCAP military athlete. So Roxbury, Connecticut, you have a new World Cup medalist in Megan Henry. Big day for her. Huge day as well for Kimberly Murray. Lived in the leaders box more than she could possibly even have imagined was going to happen, no matter how tight things were. And a great day of sliding here to start our weekend of action in Innsbruck. Race 5 at the BMW IBSF Women's Skeleton World Cup is done, and Jacqueline Lerling, with her second win of the season, eases away from Janine Flock, who took the silver medal here, and Elena Nikita, who was just off the podium in 4th. And Megan Henry of the USA, 7th in her debut season, her first World Cup medal safely tucked away, or it will be in a few minutes. What a great start to her World Cup career. And Kimberly Murray, with a track record early in the run, boosts her way into the top 20. So 2 relative newcomers having sensational days here. But a sensation too for Jacqueline Lerling, only 1 medal in her career on this track, and then she comes out with her first Innsbruck win.
And a track record to boot.
Yeah. And I think, I'm not sure whether improvement at the start or a track record or the victory will be more delighted. I think all into the mix they go. It's a huge day for her here in Innsbruck.
Definitely can be happy there. I chatted with her dad briefly before the race.
Yeah, disappointed to be eased out of the podium positions in her home race in Winterberg. But there's Megan Henry. She can barely stop jiggling with excitement, can she? Silver medal for Janine Flock.
She's not been off the podium this season.
Yeah, and Jacqueline Lerling has once in Winterberg, but 2 wins, a silver and a bronze out of 5 starts. And Megan Henry, first medal of her career. Not sure that's going to be the last we see of her smiling like that this year. Well, thank you for joining us for our first day of action here in Innsbruck. We've got women's bob and men's 2-man tomorrow. Join us for all of that. My thanks to Elizabeth Meyer for joining us and for bringing baby Hendrix to meet the crew. Delighted to see you as always, Liz. And we'll see husband Benny in action tomorrow. Join us for all the action then. We'll be on air at 10 local 0900 CET. Until then, from Innsbruck in Austria, from me, Martin Haven, the IBS TV crew, auf Wiedersehen and goodbye for now.